True.
True. Okay. Does anyone else say different, or is everyone going to say true?
True.
Okay, so the answer is false. The only reason why it's false is it is important to remember that with pregnancy cravings aside, you only really need an extra 200, 300 calories a day when you're pregnant. So roughly, the average woman consumes about 2,000 calories, round, give or take, around that number. But when you're pregnant, you should be eating about, let's say, 200 and 200, 2,200, 2,300. So roughly around that number. Um, so you're not really eating for two people. So when someone says you eat for two people, that means you're supposed to be eating about 4,000 calories. But that's a lot. So really, you only need an extra 200 to 300 calories on top of your daily or maintenance calorie a day. Overeating can lead to nausea, and increased risk of complications later on. So it's fine to indulge in cravings, but make sure we are not overdoing it and not overeating. Remember, too much of everything is bad. So everything in moderation is great. So next question or next statement. Morning sickness only happens in the morning. Is this true or is this false? You can shout out your answer.
But you any morning sickness, you ain't you.
If you have any, you can have you can have a guess. Morning sickness only happens in the morning. Is this true or false?
True.
Okay, true. Does anyone say, do I know, or does anyone think different?
I'd say false.
Okay. Right, amazing.
False.
Okay, let's have a look at the answer. So it is false. So despite the name, only 2% of women experience morning sickness in the morning. So these nauseous kind of feeling usually strikes within the 4th week and can last until the early stages of the second trimester. So we should not be fooled by the name. Just because it says morning sickness doesn't necessarily means it happens in the morning. Okay. Last statement. Mood swings are common in pregnancy. Mood swings are common in pregnancy. And what mood swings are is, for example, 1 minute you might be happy, 1 minute you might be sad, you might be anxious. It's just that change in moods. So mood swings are common in pregnancy. Is this true or is this false?
True. True. True.
Thank you, everyone. So the answer is true. Mood swings are very common during pregnancy. They tend to happen more in the first trimester and towards the ending of the 3rd trimester. So yes, they are common and it is true. Okay, so on to the first topic of pregnancy and nutrition. So eating well is very important during pregnancy. It is essential for both your health and your baby's health. So it's important that a balanced diet is maintained. And this includes a wide range of fruits and vegetables that are high in nutrition and provides the woman with a lot of energy. So it's understandable that it can be tough to focus on foods, especially when you're feeling sick or tired and you just don't have the energy to cook. So try not to push yourself too much and give yourself too much pressure, but instead aim to include a different wide of ranges of foods from all the food groups. So in opposite to what we have just spoke about the myth of eating for 2 people, which is not true, it is important to manage your portion sizes and maintain a healthy, balanced diet. So you can find this picture here on the internet as a way to guide you on what your plate should kind of like consist of. So your plate should have a lot of fruit and vegetables on there, which are high nutrition and good for your body. So like broccoli, cucumber, bananas. And then also to balance that out, you should be including some form of carbs. For example, potatoes, breads, pastas, rice. This is important for energy. It helps gives the woman energy as a source of energy form. And also you can include your meats, your chickens, your salmon, and also have a little bit of dairy products, especially if you like yogurts or cheeses, which are fine in pregnancy. So this kind of diagram is a good kind of guide on what you should include on your plate, or what your plate should consist of. So nutrition continued. So these are the do's. These are the things that I want a pregnant woman to do in terms of nutrition. So I would advise her to start her day with a healthy breakfast. For example, this is great in order to avoid snacking later on high fat, high sugar, unprocessed foods. When you go for a nutritious breakfast, it's important to think about foods that are high in fiber. For example, like fruits, oats, which keeps you feeling fuller and longer, fuller for longer. So eating well doesn't have to be complicated, but instead focus on reducing ultra-processed packed foods, which are often loaded with added sugar and salts. Instead, eat more unprocessed foods such as fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, meats, fishes and eggs, milk, cheese and yogurts, and carbohydrates like pasta, brown rice, your yams, anything carbs in terms of energy. Also, remember to keep hydrated. Drinking a lot of water, about 6 to 8 glasses a day. That's important to keep your electrolytes in your body and also keep you hydrated, especially if you're living in a hot country, or especially as summer's around the corner. It's important that we are maintaining our fluids. I would also advise pregnant women to remember their vitamins, such as folic acid and vitamin D, which are all good for the baby's development, for baby's brain development, for baby's bone development. These are vitamins that are commonly advised for women who are pregnant to be taken throughout their pregnancy. It's important that you seek your midwife for advice as well regarding the dosage. Some women have stronger or higher levels of folic acid or vitamin Ds that they need to take, but it's important that the woman or the pregnant woman consults her midwife. The don'ts, foods to avoid in pregnancy. So it's important to avoid uncooked meats such as sushi, or meats that are not cooked thoroughly. For example, steak, lamb, food that are not cooked thoroughly. So if you see that your food is not cooked properly and there's a bit of blood, I know some people like having, what do they say, not medium rare steak or raw steak. These are foods that a pregnant woman should avoid completely. Some dairy products as well, which is molded cheese, unpasteurized cheese, and unpasteurized milk and yogurts. So it's important that when you're pregnant, you are checking the back of the labels of some products. It does tell you if the product is unpasteurized or pasteurized. So we want to avoid these unpasteurized food, as it can invite different organisms into your body, which can make you sick and ill. Unwashed packets of salads. This is pretty funny to me because I love salads, and I remember there was a time I went to the supermarket and I brought salad, and it had a bug, a little insect on it, which threw me off. But you do get that in packages of fruits and vegetables, so it's important that you wash your salads before you eat them. Or you can actually buy salads and vegetables that are pre-washed already. So raw and uncooked eggs, just like I said about the raw and uncooked meat. And you should only eat no more than 2 tuna steaks, which is about 140 grams cooked or 170 grams raw. Or in simpler terms, 4 medium cans of tuna. This is because tuna has high levels of mercury than other fishes, which is harmful for the baby. You can find research out there that proves that this is true, and it is something that we tell women to limit on when they're pregnant. Caffeine. I know a lot of people drink coffee in the morning or coffee when they're at work. It's important that we are mindful and that we limit the amount of coffee that we drink. This is because there's research that shows it has links with complications in pregnancy. Alcohol and drugs are a big no-no in pregnancy. This is because it can affect the way the baby grows and develops. And there is research that drugs and alcohol has links with complications in pregnancy, such as fetal alcohol syndromes. So it's important that we advise women to stop drinking alcohol. And if you take drugs, this is something that should be avoided. Okay, so pregnancy and exercise. When it comes to staying active during pregnancy, the more you do, the better. So if you're already used to being active or exercising regularly, it's generally safe to keep doing so. Just listen to your body. So if something feels uncomfortable, slow down or switch to a more gentle form of exercise. Aim for at least 150 minutes of activity per week. So you can break this down simply into doing 20 to 30 minutes of exercise a day. So don't stress yourself out if you can't hit that target right away, but any movement is good for both you and your baby. If you're new to exercise, I would advise you to start slow and gradually increase your activity the more you feel comfortable. So types of exercises that you can do or pregnant women can do is walking, yoga, swimming. These are exercises that a lot of pregnant women do, and they found it useful. And these are things that pregnant women should continue to do to stay active and fit. So a little story about Fit by, I found this pretty interesting when I heard her story. She is a pregnancy, no, not a pregnancy, she is a fitness influencer. She's very active in the gym. And she was in roughly around her third trimester, around this time that this video was shot. You can see her running on the treadmill there. What happened was, after she had filmed this exercise that she was doing, her waters actually broke 5 hours after, and she delivered the next morning, which is pretty interesting and funny. I'm not trying to say that those women who are pregnant should start going to the gym and start running the treadmill. It will help bring labor on quickly, but I just found this this story interesting. There's a lot of influencers, fitness influencers, that have similar stories to this, and this is I found it pretty funny. But yes, staying active in pregnancy it's good for yourself and good for baby. But don't overdo it, and don't start running on the treadmill if you've never ran on the treadmill before. Okay, so mental health statistics in pregnancy. So in pregnancy, depression and anxiety are the most common mental health problems, affecting 12% and 13% of women. So perinatal mental health problems affect up to 20% of women during pregnancy and the first year after pregnancy. As many as 1 in 5 women develop mental health illnesses during pregnancy, or in the first year after birth. So mental health problems during the perinatal stage can frequently go unrecognized and untreated, with some women not seeking help because of fear of stigma or fear of intervention by like social services. If left untreated, perinatal mental health problems can prolong and later on cause long-lasting effect to the women, and also can also affect their family members as well. Suicide is a leading cause of maternal disease deaths in the UK within a year after childbirth due to mental health complications. So what to do? How to overcome this? Due to hormonal changes in pregnancy, it is natural and common to feel stressed and anxious. However, it is important not to push these feelings away, but to address them or tackle them. Ways to overcome this. Talk to someone. A lot of women found it helpful when they attended their antenatal classes because they're surrounded by other pregnant women that are also going through the same experience, or they might be feeling the same type of emotions that they go to, and they can socialize and talk to them, and they feel more at ease when they go to these sessions. Exercise, especially if exercise is something that you love doing, continue doing what you love doing, because it can bring you more at peace, more at ease, and it can help tackle these anxieties or problems as well, especially if it's something that you enjoy doing. Treat yourself, go out, spend time with family and friends. Don't be isolated to yourself. Make sure you're with other people. Counseling, there's counseling services out there with the NHS, or you can also speak to the mental health midwife team. And also eating well. I feel like you are what you eat, and if you have a good meal, you might feel better also. So these are tips that people can follow. So who to contact? You can contact your midwife, your GP. Health visitors are also very helpful as well. If you have a counsellor, make sure you talk to your counsellor if you're going through counselling sessions. Mother and baby units are also helpful. A lot of women say that attending mother and baby units have been helpful due to like socializing with other women, like I mentioned before, who are going through similar issues and problems just as themselves. And the perinatal mental health team, just as mentioned before, we have special midwives there who are specialize in mental health, and they are amazing people that you can talk to. We should remember not to try and keep these anxieties and problems to ourselves, and we should speak. And also the Tommy's website is a good website that you can visit, or that has a lot of useful information on who to contact and who to go to. I would highly recommend, if you're pregnant, to also check out that website. So, question time. I will end this session, and I will take any questions if anybody has any questions. Thank you for listening.
But your mensa also, me to me, Busama Semisa.
Mpacho.
All right, me that's it. Mr. Rhoda, I'm sure our presentation at the moment. Na me wo nsɛm no baako yɛ contribution na baako nso yɛ asɛmbisa. First one no mmoa no. During presentation no can be about nutrition. Na woka about omega-3 salmon ebetimi a provide, and yinim sɛ yɛayɛ akwanhwɛfoɔ no yɛnni salmon. Nti na me fasa akwanya so na me the advice here na say apart from say salmon no ekura omega-3 na beboa awofo na say pregnant women no. Yes, I want alternatives bebre a ebetimi enya. Ebi ni tuna ene macros, any herrings ni ade ebetimi. Nti I think say more of salmon na dodo na enim. Nti yemfasa akwanya yeso since say eno no emaye no nche say yenkofa yewo alternative bebre ewo ha ebetimi afa and no say best take it to the quantity instead of kind tuna no say any more than two. I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Can I go on my second question so that after that you deal with the two of them?
Oh, yes, sorry. I was just saying, just to piggyback what you said, yes, about obviously Adventists and salmon. I was just speaking as a overall kind of thing, and just in case anybody that's on this presentation is not Adventist, this is obviously, these are foods that you can eat. But thank you for the contribution. I was just talking in general, but yes.
Okay, all right, that's it. And yeah, nama sembisa ne twaso. Me person me busa say pregnancy state any sex, because I'm sure what you know pregnancy nutrition, pregnancy mental health, but that's me who more of the sex side. Yeah, say me yerenyum meeting no ehyiemu ewo na positions beni bi ebetim aboa if preferably so resource my same say mu da ha amomwa.
Okay, thank you for your question. Sorry, I think my computer's about to die, so just getting a charger. Thank you for your question. To answer your question in regards to sex, I mean, this is a short presentation that I gave just because of time, so I only focused on a couple points. But to answer your question, sex is good for when you're pregnant. There is a saying, or there's a tale that when you have sex, it brings labor on quickly. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But sex is safe for yourself or your partner during pregnancy. What you need to kind of like think of is if about comfortability, especially in regards to like the positions. If you're doing positions that the woman is not comfortable in, then change positions or change to a different type of position. There's not a specific position during sexual intercourse when you're pregnant that is bad for you. But we do advise women to continue their sexual activities with their partner or husband when they're pregnant. It's totally safe. Hopefully that's answered your question.
Medasi.
Hello?
Me my question.
Me pacho me moa blasamo de no kakra.
Hey, Mr. Cry, ma, why are they go
Simon
ahead?
Yeah, Simon na wo kan no. Me pacho ye Ghana Simon no e de skill bi ani ho yenre. But so ba akwantu mo hanum say ya ye Simon ye good ye re skill wo ho. Wo say emu ye pink. Me na first pa ye wo Ghana na ye say ye nwe Simon ampa. Simon you know, the mod friend Simon no enu de skill bi ani ho yenre. Ne momo no de so na emu ye pink no skill bebre ho de knife fa ho a wo be hu skill bebre wo ho e na afei so oil no ewo mu no eboa pa enti eno na me pese me de boa say Simon good but enye de Ghana ye friend Simon no de eso no a emu no ye pink no eno de ye we me pa cho na me de boa me das.
Okay,
thank
so
you.
sorry to interrupt. And no, Rhoda, why are you? Your mission is very beautiful, and your mom has given the support. The intimate and no, and I'm a Becca. My Sammy Ghana, dear friend is someone. I have a friend in mackerel. Oh, and then but yani confused. See, and yani a friend in mackerel India. I sorry, Adventist. So yeah, we because yeah, real, but majority also get confused to eat it, thinking say because it's not called salmon here, no. And yeah, we ain't it. I wish you pa dia. Said I might can. So our fish ne friend is salmon or Ghana na. I had any friend Michael because there's no skill. Yeah, fence no na ɛwɔ ho. But pink one no, what is salmon? Wouldn't mean tompo. Ne boarding a big fish. It ranges from 30 pounds, 60 pounds, and so on. To be crack on fillets. And any dear Sammy a yapa. Oko internet so cran. I think so the difference between the mackerel and then the salmon. No. No one who ain't he just not discourage people from eating the salmon. No, just on top of that. Why? See, Yamin Shao. Thank you, Sammy, and thank you, Rhoda, once again.
Thank you, Auntie Willa and Mama Amelia for clarifying that side regards to salmon. I have got some questions here as well. I've been sent some questions. One of the questions, it says, what sitting positions should be avoided during pregnancy? So what your midwife would advise you to do is when you're sitting, if you're sitting for a prolonged period of time, to make sure you take breaks and you walk. So for example, if you're on a long car journey, make sure you're taking regular breaks, that you're stretching your legs and that you're walking. This is in order to prevent clotting in your legs and help with blood flow. Also, in terms of sitting, it's more to do with comfortability of the pregnant woman, especially as the trimesters continue or sorry, just got a message. As the trimesters as you prolong or go further in your trimester and your bump is getting bigger, it's more about comfortability. So maybe when you're sitting on a chair, if you have a pregnancy pillow, you can put behind you to prevent pelvic pains, or it's more to do with comfortability, I would say. So top tips are to make sure when you're sitting to not be sitting for a longer period of time, and that you're stretching your legs in order to prevent clotting in your legs and to help blood flow. When you're traveling, to also make sure that you're taking regular breaks, like I said before, and also stretching your legs. And also, thirdly, in terms of comfortability, when you're sitting, pregnancy pillows are also available, or pillows in general are also useful, or a lot of women say it's helped them, especially in terms of positioning, because you don't want to be slouched down in an uncomfortable position. You want to be kind of upright in a well seated position, in order to prevent back pains and pelvic pains. Another question that I got was...
Petro, sorry to interrupt. There was a hand up from Coventry.
Oh, yes. I will answer that in a minute. I'm just going by kind of order. I've just had a couple questions come through, so I will answer it in order. I've not excluded anybody. I'll get to the questions. Thank you. So the second question I got was, how can one deal with lack of sleep during pregnancy, and does this affect the baby? So what I would say in terms of lack of sleep is it is important to get into a routine. Make sure that you have a routine set. So for example, today I'm going to sleep at 9 p.m. and make sure I wake up at 8 a.m. It's important to set yourself a goal, basically, in terms of sleep. Try to avoid napping during the day. This is because when it comes to sleeping at night, you might not be able to sleep. So that's the number one tip I would say. Try and set yourself a routine, a goal, and be like, okay, at this time I'm going to go to sleep, and then at this time I'm going to try and wake up, and try avoid napping in between. Secondly, if you are anxious or you're going through some form of mental health problems, it's important that you speak to someone about this. This is because it can affect your sleep. So it's important that you are tackling any issues that could affect sleep, such as anxiety or depression. Making sure that you're speaking to your midwife or your doctor or your counselor to help tackle that problem, because it can affect your sleep and affect your health if you're feeling drained or if you're feeling depressed every day. Also, I'll say maybe it could be the fact that when you're sleeping, you're not comfortable and you're up at night. So what I could advise you is that, like I mentioned before about a pregnancy pillow, they are amazing. A lot of women say it's helped them in terms of sleeping, and especially as your bump gets bigger, it can be uncomfortable sleeping. So a pregnancy pillow is really helpful. Maybe dimming the lights, making sure that your room is cool and calm, maybe playing a bit of music in the background could help to help you sleep. So these are kind of like 3 tips I would give to a pregnant woman who is struggling with sleep. But most importantly, if you are struggling with something, to speak to your healthcare provider and make sure that your midwife or your GP are aware of this, so that they can go through with you the steps to help overcome this. The next question I got is, how can one improve her baby's brain development in pregnancy? What I would advise is, or what your midwife would advise you to do is to take your vitamins, making sure you're taking your vitamin Ds and your folic acid, because research shows that it helps improve baby's brain development, baby's growth, growing of the heart and the bones. So making sure that you are taking these vitamins as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, and you're taking them throughout your pregnancy. Especially in this country where we don't get enough of vitamin D, it's important that you're taking your vitamin D supplements as well. Secondly, also, what your midwife will tell you is to speak to your bump. I know maybe in the African culture, it sounds like a taboo, or it sounds like, whoa, but what your midwife will say is speaking to your baby, speaking to your bump, speaking to your baby helps your baby's brain development, because your baby can hear everything that you're saying. Your baby, when your baby comes out, when your baby is delivered, they know who you are. They know that you are their mother. Why? It's because they've heard you speaking in the womb. So speaking to your baby like, good morning, baby, how you doing? Rubbing your bump, it just stimulates oxytocin, which is a hormone that is essential in pregnancy and labor later on. So talking to your bump, good morning, baby. Just sitting there, rubbing your stomach, talking to your baby also helps improve your baby's brain development, as research shows as well. So it's good. So these are my kind of 2 tips into improving your baby's brain development and growth. The 4th question I have got is, what are the signs that your baby is unwell during pregnancy? The main way to know that your baby is unwell is from your baby's movements. So from the first trimester, you probably won't be able to feel your baby move as much, because your baby's still developing, your baby's still growing, your baby's very small and tiny. But once your baby starts to develop a moving pattern, this is how us midwives are able to determine if your baby is unwell. So for example, your baby might be active and might start kicking early in the morning, you're getting kicks in the morning. And maybe in the afternoon, your baby's a bit quiet, but then at night, your baby's kicking. And every day, that is your baby's pattern. If that changes, if baby's not, for example, is a bit quiet in the morning, but baby is usually active in the morning, and baby now is quiet also at night when your baby's usually active at night, that could be a sign that something is going wrong. So it's important that you contact your midwife and the triage at your hospital, so that you can be seen straight away, so we can do some further monitoring. So that is one of the main ways to know if your baby is unwell. We ask you about your baby's movements. Have you felt your baby move today? And if not, has your baby moved at all today? And what is your baby's usual pattern of movements? Secondly, I would say in terms of more about the mother, if you're feeling unwell, you might have a urine infection. When you go to wee, it's burning, or you might have flashing lights, your hands are swollen, could be a sign of preeclampsia. Any signs of infection for yourself, we also think about baby. If you are ill, is baby okay? So it's important that if you're ill, to also contact triage, contact your midwife, especially if you're really ill to the point that you're not able to do your daily activities. It's important that you contact your midwife so we can bring you to the hospital. We can do some checks on baby and do checks on yourself to make sure that everything's okay. So these are the two kind of things I would say to look out for in terms of signs to look out for if your baby is unwell. It's more to do with movements and yourself as a mother. Are you feeling well? Do you think you might have an infection? If so, contact the hospital, contact your midwife. We'll bring you in to do some investigation and some monitoring on baby and some investigations on yourself. And then one of the questions I got was, what precautions do I have to follow in the first month of pregnancy? I would say everything that I've mentioned on this PowerPoint is something that a pregnant woman should do. So I've mentioned the do's and the don'ts in terms of like nutrition, making sure your nutrition is good, making sure you're exercising, make sure you're taking your vitamins. These are kind of like the precautions I would say, or the kind of like advice I would give to a pregnant woman. Just making sure that she's looking after herself, making sure that she knows the type of people to contact if there's any changes or if she feels like there's something that's wrong, because it's important that because you know yourself and you know your baby, and if you feel like something is off or something is not right, you should know who to contact. So these are the kind of like the things that I've mentioned in this PowerPoint are kind of like the advice I'll give to a pregnant woman and the precautions to take. And mostly just enjoy your pregnancy. Just look after yourself, making sure that if you are looking after yourself, then we know that you, yourself, and baby are good. So making sure, like I said before, you're following these tips, and also you know who to contact if you feel like something is wrong. So there was a question here, and it says, at what stage in pregnancy should I start seeing a midwife? I am not sure what that is meant in terms of at what stage in pregnancy should I start seeing a midwife. If this question,
Rhoda,
if it's meant that
hello.
when you, hi, hello.
Yeah, what I mean is, when you find out that you're pregnant, when
Okay.
should you start seeing your midwife?
Okay, so as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, you should contact your GP, and you should contact your nearest, so for example, if you live in Wythenshawe, it will be the Wythenshawe midwife team that you contact, and there should be numbers there on the internet. So as soon as you're pregnant, straight away, if you find out that you're pregnant, just contact your GP, and also they'll be able to advise you on which kind of hospitals close to you, or which midwife team is close to you that you can contact. So I would say, as soon as you're pregnant, or as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, contact a health professional. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, perfect. I don't think I've... Is there any more hands, any more questions? Let's see. Is there any more questions?
Coventry, if your question is not answered in the other ones, you can.
So, have I answered everything? I think I have. Okay. I am happy to speak to anybody on one-to-one if you feel like you want me to break down anything a bit further, or if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer that. I'm happy to give my contact out and speak to anybody that just wants more information. I'm happy to talk to you about it. So I will drop my number in the text section. But if we do not have any more questions, then I just want to say thank you for listening. Sorry about before in regards to the technical issues, but thank you for listening and thank you for having me. And hopefully you have all learned something from this PowerPoint today. Yeah, I just want to say God bless. So before...
Okay.
So I can pass it to the team.
Rhoda, have you done, please?
Yes, I have.
And if I say Konya is so near that Rhoda sick as pa or Konya Yame and I'm the son in pa or the ama numre. Send your work or question be or the number beto a so Zoom chat and so now a friend or not. Wapɛ wakyerɛkyerɛ mu akyerɛ wo yie nti nyame nkɔ so nhyira wo ma onyansa ne nimdeɛ na daa ne daa fa sua adeɛ kɔ anim na nyame mma so hia mmoa a wode adom yɛn ɛne brɛ mɛsrɛ yɛ elder Emmanuel Yeboa pakyɛ baabi a wɔ no sɛ kwan wɔ wo ho a wobɛbɔ mpaeɛ de Rhoda ahyɛ nyame nsa sɛ nyame nkɔ so ama ne nyansa ne nimdeɛ ɔmmɔ ne ho ban wɔ n'adwuma yɛ mu nyinaa na daa ne daa no nyame mfa ne so mfa bi ma afoforɔ. Now the program na it was on so ahyɛ nyame nsa elder me that's it.
Mumpai. Yɛne was from Patriota was in brain so. It was a P. 7 of what dom so. Alpha Rhoda so actually in the brain so. But I want to say thank you for this privilege of giving her, and also for the wisdom you've given her, even through her education, and also giving her the job and also the knowledge to serve others. So say, what do I would man of Sunyan because was a shrano. Tina Jumamu, Maninimatum, not on cost when you were him, the born and Nebusian now buying. And I was saying, so yeah, by Fidin sooner tear or the foot train same so, but it's so said 1.2 and among the cost were to me and the true our 4 on our shema. Uncle was angry, so say, cause be a quine ma or shema, near Fumat at the paying so. Cause on a boy and ma one hour on a year from cause I crow the breast was almost assumed Jim. And that was a name marine so a bread Bible the same to us so say cause one can't acquire the church ring the added name also send you say I'm also and that was a name marine but the years didn't yet that was it. Amen.
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 I mean sure elder and